This episode covers two separate cases of murder that are unconnected, and the people involved probably never even met. But as we shall see, both are fatally intertwined by pure chance. They are centred in Brighton in the 1930s, a bustling and vibrant south coast seaside resort, known for its expansive beach, the iconic pier, not to mention the vibrant nightlife. This is Vintage Murders, and the sickening story of the Brighton trunk murders. It all started with a nasty smell in the left luggage office at Brighton's rail station on the morning of the 17th of June 1934. That was, as can be imagined, unpleasant to the public and staff alike. After a detailed search by an employee, William Vinnacombe, the offending odour was traced to a trunk which was leaking some noxious liquid. It had been left, according to the receipt, around 10 days earlier. When opened by the hapless member of staff, he discovered to his horror the remains of a human body. He immediately called the police, who were hastily on the scene, headed by Chief Inspector Donaldson. The trunk was removed from the office and taken to the local mortuary for further examination. It was discovered that the torso had been dismembered and wrapped in newspaper, and that the victim was a young woman who had been dead for some days. Other stations were alerted to be on the lookout for suspicious luggage, and the following day, on the 18th of June, at King's Cross Station in London, a second trunk was discovered, the contents of which, when opened, were two female legs. Despite exhaustive investigations by the police, the head and arms were never found. The press named the victim the girl with the pretty feet, or simply pretty feet, because the corpse had what they called dancer's feet, and they were thought beautiful. The post-mortem was conducted by Sir Bernard Spilsbury, the famed Home Office pathologist, and it revealed that the woman was about in her mid-20s. Detailed examination had not revealed the cause of death, but the legs and feet found in the railway clerk's office at London's King's Cross Station definitely belonged to the victim. She had previously been healthy and well nourished. She was not younger than 21 and not older than 28, and would have been about 5 feet 2 inches in height and weighed roughly 8.5 stone. She was 5 months pregnant at the time of her death. The police interviewed witnesses, checked train timetables, and searched missing persons reports in an effort to identify who the victim was and track down her killer. The cases of 700 missing women were reviewed, and police checked hospitals as well as known abortionists. For the first time ever, the police appealed directly to the public for help and information using the press. After a month of investigations with few results, police concentrated on house-to-house searches, and on the 15th of July, they found completely by chance in a locked room a suspicious trunk at 52 Kemp Street in Brighton. More about this later. Donaldson asked officers to watch a potential suspect from Hove covertly. A local story speculates that women die during backstreet abortions. It is believed that this abortionist, Dr. Edward Massier, could have been involved, and he was questioned but not pursued because of the embarrassment to clients who had visited him. One of the officers helping with the investigation did confront Massier, expecting him to come quietly. Instead, the doctor wrote a list of names, and it seemed to the policeman that the sun had gone in. All of a sudden, the consulting room was a place of sombre shadows. The policeman concerned did not tell Donaldson about this incident, and the inspector only later heard about it when he was warned by a senior officer to back off. No arrests were ever made. Massier moved to London, where a woman later died while he was performing an illegal abortion, yet he evaded prosecution. He remained on the General Medical Register and was removed only after he failed to re-register in 1952, following his retirement to Port of Spain in Trinidad. Spilsbury, always on the lookout for evidence of illegal abortions, described no evidence of interference with the pregnancy and noted that the dismemberment showed no particular anatomical skill, and had been done by someone with no skilled medical knowledge. Given the butchered state of the corpse, post-mortem analysis could only reveal so much, and the exact cause of death was not determined. Neither the victim nor her murderer was ever identified. Although the first trunk murder was almost certainly unrelated to the second, it did lead to the discovery of this second murder. It is now the 15th of July, and there was a second gruesome discovery in a matter of days of what was thought to be unrelated cases. Sussex police had called in the help of Scotland Yard with the ongoing investigation of the June murder. It was during this search for evidence in the first slaying that ultimately led to the discovery of the second trunk murder. House-to-house searches around the station led to Kemp Street, and in particular number 52, which yielded by sheer chance the discovery of yet another suspicious trunk, which when opened was found to contain the whole body of 42-year-old Violet Kay, seemingly killed by a blow to the head in the lodgings of her lover Tony Mancini. Violet was a part-time prostitute and dancer who had moved to Brighton from London the previous September and lived at various addresses in the town with her much younger Mancini, who was aged 26. Kay and Mancini reportedly led a troubled life together. She had met him in London, and he was a petty thief with a criminal record including theft and loitering, and he worked odd jobs as a bouncer and waiter. The pair moved to Brighton in 1933, and they were last seen together in May 1934 at a Brighton cafe where Mancini worked. Kay and Mancini's relationship had been tempestuous. On the 10th of May they had had a row when a drunk Kay accused Mancini of being romantically involved with a waitress called Elizabeth Attrell in the Skylark cafe on the seafront where Mancini worked. Shortly afterwards, Kay disappeared and was never seen again. Mancini said she had dumped him and got a new job in Paris and gave some of her clothes and belongings to Attrell. Violet's sister-in-law was to receive a telegram from Vi suggesting as much. It was later established that this had been sent from Brighton that morning, by which time Kay was already dead. Soon thereafter, Mancini moved to a new address at 52 Kemp Street. Among the belongings he moved into the new flat was a large trunk, which he transported by handcart with Kay's non-dismembered body inside. The case sat at the foot of the bed, covered with a cloth, where it functioned as a coffee table. It also, according to visitors, made a revolting smell and leaked liquids. Violet was dead, and her body was in a large trunk in Kemp Street, close to the station. But when the police found the body in the trunk, which for 2 months Mancini had kept in his room, despite his guest's complaint about the smell, he had fled. He was picked up outside London on the 17th of July for vagrancy. When questioned, he gave his name as Cecil England, which was his real name, and claimed that he had found Kay dead in their flat and assumed she had been killed by one of her clients. At no stage was he ever linked to the Pretty Feet first victim, but he was charged with murder on July the 18th. He had panicked because he had a criminal record and had hidden her body in a trunk. On hearing of the house-to-house searches, he went on the run. On the 10th of December 1934, he appeared before the Crown Assizes at the Guildhall in Lewes High Street. The prosecution was led by J.C. Castles, and Norman Burkitt was the defence counsel. At this stage, the case against him appeared pretty overwhelming, but Mancini's defence was in the hands of Burkitt, considered to be the most outstanding criminal advocate at the time. Mancini himself said he had found her body in the flat they had shared at 44 Park Crescent and brought it in a trunk by handcart when he moved to Kemp Street. So why hide it and then flee? His answer was that he would have been suspected immediately as the killer because of his criminal record as a petty thief. "I loved her," he said. Thinking the police would not believe his story because he had a criminal record, he kept the matter a secret and put her body in a trunk. Burkitt speculated she could have been murdered by a client or fallen down steps into the flat. The prosecution focused on Kay's death by a blow to the head. A graphologist also confirmed the handwriting on the form for the telegram sent to Kay's sister matched that on menus Mancini had written at the Seafront Cafe. One witness, Doris Saville, said Mancini had asked her to provide a false alibi. Other witnesses, friends of Mancini, claimed he boasted in the days after the murder of giving his missus the biggest hiding of her life. Another of other witnesses also confirmed that Mancini and Kay had seemed to be a contented couple. But the turning point of the trial was the way Burkitt destroyed police pathologist Sir Bernard Spilsbury in the witness box. Spilsbury had worked on many famous cases in the past and was renowned for his meticulous work, but as he neared retirement, his evidence of the cause of death and the bloodstains fell apart in front of the jury under cross-examination. The quality and nature of the forensic evidence were also drawn into doubt by the defence, who queried the amount of morphine in Kay's blood and proved that items of clothing stained with blood had been purchased after Kay's death. The testimony of Spilsbury, whose illustrious career was already in decline, was effectively demolished by the well-planned cross-examination and closing speech of Norman Burkitt. A number of witnesses also confirmed that Mancini and Kay had seen a contented couple. After 2¼ hours, the jury returned a verdict of not guilty. After the 5-day trial, Mancini was cleared and free to go. At the local police station there was consternation. The verdict meant that both the body and the trunk murders were unsolved, as the hunt for the first killer was going nowhere. So 2 murderers must still be at large. Regardless of what happened the night Violet Kay was killed, we do know that Mancini tried to cover up her death. In addition to telling associates that Kay had skipped town, he also sent a forged telegram to her sister, saying that she had found a good job abroad. Despite their similarities, the twin Brighton trunk murders in 1934 were viewed as completely separate incidents. There is a postscript to this story when the final twist came out in 1976. Mancini, aged 68, just before he died, confessed in the News of the World that he had indeed murdered Violet. He explained that during a blazing row with Kay, she had attacked him with a hammer that he used to break coal for their fire. He had wrestled the hammer from her, but when she had demanded it back, he had thrown it, hitting her on the left temple. The forensic evidence of Spilsbury at the trial was vindicated, although a murderer had walked free. A prosecution of Mancini for perjury was considered, but rejected due to lack of corroboration. So if he did indeed murder Violet, who killed and chopped up the body of the first Brighton station victim? Was it Massia? The press attention revived interest in a previous Brighton trunk murder. In 1831, John Holloway murdered his wife Celia and then transported her body in a trunk on a wheelbarrow to Lover's Walk in a local park and buried the remains. He was arrested, convicted, and eventually hanged. The seaside resort was given the unwanted nickname of Queen of Slaughtering Places and suddenly found itself to be the crime capital of England.